Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back again for another Rage video, where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are wrapping things up. We are concluding our first of 15 album assaults, and we are concluding that with perhaps the one song on this album I've wanted to revisit after all these years. The last time I checked this out, I think, was exactly 4 years ago today. What's the date now? October 20th, 2022. So 4 years ago, I was just... I want to give you guys a little bit of context just before we get started. 4 years ago, I was just starting YouTube, and I blasted out video after video after video. And some of perhaps the earliest ones I done was done specifically on Ride the Lightning. But coming back to it after all these years, I think has done this album the world of good, because I've seen the light. I've seen for what every song is, and I think, again, Escape may be the only like slightly bad apple, but this is, again, in terms of musicianship, this is Metallica at their very best. And I say that because, again, you consider and how much I've talked about Master of Puppets and Justice for All, and even a lot of the work on Reload is very, very good. But this is, well, Metallica have given us all who've watched these videos from Fight Fire with Fire all the way to the Call of Ktulu. This is what you'll only describe as Metallica putting on an impressive display. So, let's wrap this. I hope to God this ends as well as everything else, because this is really what I've really wanted to see. So, if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Let's conclude this. The Call of Ktulu. Am I saying that right? It says Ktulu, but I always pronounce it Ktulu. So let's just get started, shall we? Okay, The Call of Ktulu. In 3, 2, 1, and... Oh, hang on. Wow. Okay. unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, that was... We have just rode the lightning. Somebody ought to tell me that they literally... we rode this into paradise. Because, my God, I am literally going to go onto the scene here right now to say that this is... How do I describe... Well, first off, let's describe the Call of Cthulhu as it is, because I think whenever I come to talk about purely instrumental songs, they are some of the best, but sometimes some of the hardest songs to talk about, because quite a lot of them are open to interpretation. And I'm a book nerd. I have hundreds of books on my shelves behind me, all over the place. I live and was made for stuff like this, to dissect chords, riffs, beats, the flow. We will cut into things you didn't even think you could even cut into, even with a razor edge blade like this. But to be honest, the only thing sharper than a surgical than a knife basically is this. It's in here. You know what? You call this a knife? This is a knife. This slices things in half. This sees beyond the slice. This goes between the lines. You know what I mean? And to be honest, my head is pulsing because I listened to this entire album in one go with no breaks. That's a fucking mood right there. I didn't know why he looks so happy. But anyway, getting back on track. The reason why I sometimes think this is sometimes hard to do is because a lot of things are open to interpretation, and sometimes I might not get the whole point. Sometimes I might come up with a completely different impression. But the Call of Cthulhu is... And I can honestly say this with my hand on heart. A few years ago, Metallica released an album with the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra, and I don't necessarily know for myself, not having heard of it myself, if they literally just took some classic Metallica songs and put them in a 50-piece orchestra. I say that because, as some of you already know, there was an album I only discovered a couple of weeks ago called Apocalyptica Play Metallica on 4 Big Cellos, which is completely... It fits in completely to Apocalyptica's theme because they all play on 4 cellos. And I must admit, if this song, Call of Cthulhu, this would not be out of place in an orchestra. This would not be out of place at the BBC proms. This would not be out of place, ladies and gentlemen, in like some giant blockbuster movie, like that one movie where that lady fell in love with a fish or something like that. This feels like it feels like the connection is almost, it's too easy to make. And this song not having any lyrics at all, I think that improves the song massively, because how do you even begin to interpret the ideas that H.P. Lovecraft went into? In fact, an interesting little piece of trivia is that a lot of Lovecraft's contemporaries kind of were highly influenced by Lovecraft's tales and monsters, that they just used them for their own, and then Lovecraft used theirs in turn. So almost what you have here, very similar to the Call of Cthulhu, is that you have a selection of really good ideas and you just sort of like stack them on top of another. From the way it begins, to the glorious ending, to how fast and how sometimes usually like having some songs play on like 1 or 2 notes for a good 6 minutes, but sometimes be a bit of a bad thing because it can sometimes overstay its welcome, even for the ones that are really catchy and the ones that really seem like they fit like too well and they make way too much sense to do. Metallica always shift this by bringing in new things for your eyes to indulge in. So you're staying on track, but you've got something else to listen, or something else to ponder, or something else to see. That is, to be honest, I think what this makes it all about. Meanwhile, then there's the fact that we just finished this album. And I must be honest, I'm a little bit sad now, because I must be honest, ladies and gentlemen, I was a little bit split on this album, to be honest, 4 years ago. Now that I actually have now that I've put the jacket back on for the first time in years, and the fact that some of these songs I've come back to for the first time in many years, I can honestly say, I think, do you want me to be honest? I think I would easily, but I could see why. I think it's also one of my favourite albums they've ever done. I can see absolutely why that is. And to be honest, I was almost going to go on a limb here and say it's better than And Justice for All, which, to be honest, yeah, I am going to say that. I do think that this is better. The album is better than And Justice for All, only second to Master of Puppets. But then again, Master of Puppets is the benchmark for thrash metal. I honestly do. I do think there are some songs on And Justice for All that on their own trump a lot of the things on Ride the Lightning, even on Master of Puppets, which I've said time and time again all those years ago. But if you want, what I'm going to say is like your introduction to Metallica for perhaps maybe the ones who were a little bit like off skew by some things on Kill 'Em All, this is the place to start, because you will learn literally everything you need to know about Metallica by going through this album. Everything else, I would say maybe Master of Puppets is a good place to start, but for my money, you should start on Ride the Lightning, because once you get struck, you'll almost certainly remember it. You know what I mean? And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our very first entrant of Album Assault. There are 14 more albums to come, and I hope you will grow to love them, and I hope I grow to love them as much as I have loved my time doing Ride the Lightning. I've enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it too. So, this is the time to say goodbye. Farewell, my friends, farewell, for this really is the end of Ride the Lightning. Take care, and good night.